Hey guys, welcome back to the biggest agricultural platform in Namibia known as Duna Wengombe, which means headman of cattle. My name, of course, Mitchell Mutumba Simata, aka the headman of cattle. So a friend of mine calls me. He calls me. I can hear. He calls me on the phone. I can hear that he's not sounding well. He goes like, "Hey, Mitchell." I'm like, "Yes, yes, my guy. How's it, man? How you doing?" I shall not mention names. He goes like, "Hey, Mitch, why did no one tell us that farming Kimasipa?" So I start laughing. He's Setswana. Now, Masipa in my mother tongue, or even in Silozi, means shit. He's like, why did no one ever tell us that it's shit? And I'm asking, what do you mean, Chief? What happened? He's like, bro, last night, 2 bucks of mine, goats. This is why I didn't say ram. You see, I'm using the term buck. A buck is for male goats. Escaped the crawl and were walking in one of the camps and got killed. Two of them. I spent 9.5 each on these animals. I'm like, hey, sorry, bro. My condolences on that. Sorry, man. I know it's a big knock. He's saying, brah, I'm already starting the year on a sour note. I'm like, bro, let's just hope things get better. He's like, why did no one ever tell us this about farming? Why did no one ever tell us that it's more than what we read in the magazines? When you're reading a Farmer's Weekly or a Landbo or any of these agricultural magazines, they tell you how this person started off with 1 goat and increased them to 100 goats, or started off with 10 cows and increased them to about 100 cows. They don't tell you of the fights that you have to do, wrestling pigs, fighting animals in literally in a pit, in a mud pit of shit. He's like, nobody tells you that. And I was like, hey, bro, it's farming, man. It's farming. He's like, how many young people out there are being told or are reading so many of this online print medias, or listening to radio, watching podcasts, and are sitting there and going like, I can get into this and I can be great. I can be better than most. And not realizing that it could be, it could be worse than falling into a hot pile of kettle dung. So I was like, hey, bro, it is, man. Farming is tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. He looked at me and he said, bro, the funny thing of farming, it has taken me to two situations. One situation, I became extremely holy. I started going to church every day. I prayed. The other situation is I started drinking a lot. And I was like, hey, how much is a lot? It's like, bitch, I literally drink half a bottle of brandy in a day. Stress. Stress is just crazy because there's always something happening somewhere. There's always something going wrong somewhere. He says that when he wakes up in the morning and it's a good day, nothing has gone wrong. He's literally waiting for something to go wrong somewhere. And I'm just there like, hey, man, it's agriculture. It's agriculture. And then he tells me, yeah, Mitch, you being a person who studied media and journalism, why aren't you telling your friends in the media circle to stop presenting agriculture as something simple? Telling a story of a person dropping out of school, or leaving school, or he or she couldn't get employment and going into farming, and today is rich. It's not as clean cut as they make it seem on the paper or in the magazine. I'm like, hey, look, when I've been invited to agricultural conferences, have spoken about it, have told media that you guys need to stop presenting agriculture as the romanticized story. Why aren't you writing things on mining and you make mining look like it's the frontier story? But when it comes to the agricultural sector, you paint it or you write about it that most people read about it and believe that it's just as simple as things are going to happen. Nobody tells you as I would say, the tokolosis, or nobody tells you the shit part of agriculture. Nobody tells you about those things. So it was like, bruh, he said, bruh, farming is just kimasipa. It's shit. It's the worst thing. Agriculture is masipa. And then I'm like, yeah, no, I hear you. Then I asked him, what happened to your Lucerne plantation you're trying to start up? He's like, Mitch, when I put the Lucerne seed into the ground and I was watering, irrigating, started growing, we had a locust outbreak. This is like 2022, 2021, there between there when there was a locust outbreak in Namibia. He said the locusts came in and they ate everything, Mitchell. They ate everything. So I didn't replant because I don't know if we're going to have another locust outbreak, because it seems like the rains are starting late again. So if the rains start late, we're going to have locusts. I'm just there like, ish. Yeah, yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Now, what's the way forward? It's like, I'm going to see what I can do. But if I could go back today and advise myself on getting into agriculture, I'd say get in, but prepare yourself for stepping into a pile of shit every day. because something goes wrong. I never just have a peaceful day where I wake up, have a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee, read a book, just relax. It's always something going wrong somewhere. It's either goats getting stolen or goats getting eaten or workers leaving their duty stations. This he's telling me this past December last year, 2022. He had to fire two guys because when they were told their day, they're gonna work the day before, 2 days before Christmas, and then they'll be given Christmas off. These guys already started having Christmas on the 23rd and 24th. So by the day he came and said, "Okay, guys, I'm relieving you. I'll take over. I'll be the one staying at this goat crawl." They were gone. The goats were in the crawl. The goats hadn't gone out to eat. They've been just licking and drinking water. So and then some of them became restless and they started breaking, started digging. You know, goats are very interesting animals. They'll dig underneath the fence if they have to. They started going through the fence. They damaged the crawl. So he was like, "Guys, you know what? Thank you for the service." And these are workers that have been with him for the last 5 to 6 years. It was like, "Thanks for the service. Here's you guys' average packages. I'm going to go drop you off in town. Thank you for the service. I can't have you here." Because it seems like clearly your key December vibes are more important. And then he's just there like, "Hey, Bafuetu, my brother, agriculture is shit. I'm stepping in huge pile of shit every day." And him, the shit word is, it's a metaphor for anything can happen on the farm. Nothing is always as it seems. As much as we read an online article, a magazine, or a story somewhere, watch a YouTube channel, someone vlogging or podcasting talking about his farming, I think we need to start asking the hard questions. This is why when I tend to interview people, I ask them, what are the difficulties you are facing there? Or maybe I should start saying, what is the shit you're busy stepping in when you are doing the type of agriculture you're doing? Because remember when South Africa was flooding? You guys recall, I think it was last year or the year before, where people's chicken farms, guys who were raising chickens for slaughter, the farms, the chicken coops were getting flooded. The chickens couldn't escape and they drowned. They drown because as much as chickens can swim, just like human beings, you swim for a time, you get tired, you sink. You get tired because fatigue kicks in, a cramp kicks in, you drown and you die. These things happen. Crazy stuff of another gentleman I know a couple of years. His cattle were out in the field grazing. It was raining. Lightning just struck right in the middle of them and killed I think was it 30 something animals in one go. That's the pile of dropping, or as they say in my mother tongue, that's the Masepa you're going to step in. That's the shit you're going to step in. Sometimes you're not told about this. Because he was reminding me, I was like, "Man, Mitchell, remember when we were still in high school, schooling in this Afrikaner school with these white kids and hearing how they're telling you how their father sold the Brahman and their mother did this and their brothers are doing this and he went bike riding." And I'm like, "Yeah, I recall those stories, man. Those were fun." And then he's like, "Brian, they never used to tell us the nightmares their fathers used to have. The pile of shit the father used to step in." I'm like, "They never did. Eh? They never actually mentioned the pile of shit their father stepped in or their mother stepped in. They always tell us how nice it is at the farm." Then he was like, "Yeah." But then he says, "We can't fault them. Those guys were kids, man. They were little kids just like us. They were probably not being put at the forefront to see the diseases, the dying of animals, the cattle theft, the natural events that happen. A flood happens and then it floods your piggery and your pigs die. These are things probably they were never exposed to. Or when the pigs are all sick of a disease, and then the veterinary department tells you there's only one option here: kill all your pigs. I saw a video. I saw a video a couple of days. I think it was in an Asian country somewhere that side, where I think there was an outbreak of a pig illness. Now, this pig illness survives in the blood of the pigs. So what this officials decided was to put the pigs in a hole, and then set them on fire. I at least would have slit their throats, but probably there were too many, or probably the people who were given the task or the tender to do the work refused to actually do slaughtering, and they just said bury them alive and set them on fire so these pigs die. It was quite sad. These are the type of pile of shit people step in. So agriculture, in my opinion, kimasipa. Agriculture is shit. I like it. I don't mind rolling in the mud. I don't mind rolling in the shit because I enjoy it. I enjoy the business. I'm not doing it actively. When I did it 11 years, people always asking, "But you were doing it 11 years. How did you do it?" I always remind them. My father was a very well paid leader, very well paid CEO at the time I was farming. This is why I could do it. We experienced droughts, we experienced etc. etc. But we were able to buy feeds and all this stuff. We would lose a cow, we'd be able to replace it. But later on, when my dad retired and he was no more a high-ranking CEO and getting paid good money, it became shit because it started becoming expensive to the point where we had to stop doing it. This is why I'm not doing it. And if you ask me honestly, what do I think about agriculture? I'll tell you, yes, it's nice, but you must prepare yourself to roll in the shit. You must prepare yourself to dive into the pool of shit and to roll there and not to get disgusted. But if you're the type whose stomach isn't strong and you're gonna throw up, it's not for you. It's not for you. I saw a guy I follow on Insta. I think he had just planted some produce, and his produce, because of too much rain and so forth, are busy rotting. Imagine you planting something and you need it to get water, but not too much. It needs water, but not too much, because if it gets too much water, it starts rotting. Imagine half of that produce of his is just rotting. He's not gonna get any returns. And imagine if he had spent, let's say, 10,000 South African rands or Namibian dollar to plant these things, and now they're not coming out. They're rotting in the field. What do? Locust outbreak. You can try and spray and spray and spray, but how much money are you gonna spend on buying spray? Like the locust outbreak, Namibia and South Africa is experiencing 2021, 2022, starting of 20, ending of 2021, 2022 season. It was bad. So that's why I keep on telling people, yes, read the agricultural magazines, get inspiration for them to make you want to not get into it, but to do more research. This is why every time I'm asked to talk on agriculture, I tell people make informed and educated decisions whether you want to farm or not. Because if you're going to base it off what you read on Facebook, I mean, what you read on Twitter, what you read on Facebook, a space and whatnot, like I mentioned the other time, where I said certain tractor companies will come and sell you the dream because they need you to buy. If I am in the business of selling agricultural produce, like probably tools like spades and stuff, I will tell you I'll make a fancy catch line. I'll encourage you to buy them and say, this tool, if you buy it, is going to change your farming. Because why? We need it to sell. I need to sell. And if I don't sell, what's going to happen? So I say get in. I say heck, let's get in. We need more food production. South Africa, there was an article that was saying South Africa has run out of potatoes. Yet the potato farmers, the black, the white and black, small and large scale potato farmers came through and said, hey, here are the potatoes. There's no shortage. We have. It's just that you guys prefer to buy from larger companies. Sometimes you prefer to import them from outside because they could make them cheaper. But we are here. I say, get in. Oh, I diverted, but let's get back. I said, get in, but inform yourself, be educated on a topic, read books, talk to people, research. Don't just base it off a podcast or a vlog you watch somewhere and this person said, I stopped working a big corporate job. I went into farming and today I'm making about 800,000 a year or 800,000 a month. And then you just, they're like, wow, 800,000. I've never seen so much money in my life. Even my salary that I'm getting paid at my place of employment will never pay me 800,000. Maybe let me get into this thing. And then when you get into it, you realize you have to go roll in a pool of shit. Maybe we must have honest conversation. You're gonna have to eat the shit. You're gonna have to swallow that shit before you can actually start getting back the returns and getting the benefits and getting the rewards. But as long as you have a mindset of I'm gonna get in and I'm gonna win, you're not gonna win. You're gonna struggle. This is why we have so many state farms out there in Namibia, in South Africa, where every country that has a policy of where state owns the land, that are today dilapidated and destroyed because people got in there thinking, man, I can make this work. Got in there 2, 3, 4 years, and year 4 or 5 or 3, they were like, I can't. And I always tell people that, look, when we talk about agriculture, why are we so embarrassed to talk about the money aspect of it? Can we talk about how much money we spend on our farms? Can we be honest and say, listen, for me to plant 8 hectares of sugarcane, I'm spending 700,000. What's so wrong with saying that? This is why I started fanning Landbouw Vehicles, the television program, where the presenters, the lady who acted on Beneland, they started asking farmers like, one farmer I think had a situation where he had like a farm attack, and he spoke, and she asked him about it, and he spoke about it. Another one, she asked the person about what is this thing? Not farm attack. She asked him about the political situation where they were talking about expropriating land. And the person was open and said, look, as much as they want to expropriate the land, I agree that we should share the land fairly and equally, but we must be very careful when we try certain things Because on the end of the day, South Africa needs all of us farmers, whether white or black. And that's good. That's a hard hitting question. Not dilly dallying and just asking the nice feel, make me nice, feel nice stories. No, we must go in there and ask the hard questions because people need to know how much shit do they need to eat or how much shit are they going to roll in, are they going to have to roll in, before they can actually start winning. Because people don't know how much shit they have to roll in. I think if people knew this, they wouldn't try. And people, and if you look at the medical field, when you look at the medical field, wanting to study to a doctor, to become a doctor, people know the pool of shit they need to roll in before you can become a doctor or an accountant or a lawyer. This is why people avoid it. Like, oof, they avoid it like a plague. Like, I don't want to do that. And they go into farming because they think it's very easy. Farming is easy if you are very rich already. If you are not very rich, I think extremely wealthy. If you are Patrice Mutsepe rich, it's easy because you can hire skilled workers. You can buy a farm that's already established. You can buy it and just move in there and just retain those people that work there. And the former farm owner can become your farm manager and he runs the farm for you. But if you don't have that money and you're starting from zero, you are going to have to roll in that shit. You're going to have to eat that shit. And you're going to have to like that shit before you can actually start winning. I think that's what people don't understand. And that's why my friend was like, bruh, my Setswana friend was like, bruh, farming, kima sipa, man. Another one said, yo, farming. And then I asked him, what do you have to say about farming? Because I should have recorded when I was asking him, what do you have to say about farming? One guy said, hey, farming is worse, is far worse than being in a relationship, mujolo. It's worse. You see, he took grated cheese. And he said, you see this cheese? It was full at that point. But look at it. It's in 1,000 pieces. Why? Then I said, I don't know. Because they grated it. You see, farming will take your heart and it will do this with you till there's nothing left of you. And when you think it's done with you, then it turns the other side and then it grates you a bit into smaller, 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 fine pieces. I was like, is it that bad? It's like, it's worse than Njolo. It's worse. It's worse than getting cheated, or it's getting worse than getting cheated on by your girlfriend. It's worse than being pulled over by a traffic officer when you're drunk. Bro, it's worse. It's bad. Because when he was telling me all this, was like, but so why I'm saying all this, my tractor just had a breakdown. And now I have to call the guy to come out of Windhoek to come and service it here in Grootfontein. He's gonna charge me the distance. And then after charging me the distance, he's gonna charge me for the work he's gonna do. I pray to God it's not something major, because if it's something major, I'm not gonna be able to afford. So it's worse than Njolo. It's worse than having a wife. This is terrible. I know some people say farming is like being married. They are lying, my friend. Yeah, you must prepare to eat. You must prepare to be a shit eater. You must eat the shit. I was like, Aish, yeah, ne? I was like, yeah, no, you need to have more conversation like that. They were like, you must interview us, man. So we tell these young people what they want to get into. So they don't believe these stories that are being fed in magazines and by politicians. They need to know. It's not easy, this one. These politicians can go there and go be top farmers because they have money. They can afford to hire skilled workers, can afford to buy the best technologies. You don't. You're probably still doing it, working and doing it old school. Hey, Bafo, it's rough here. And I was like, I agree with you guys. I agree with you. Then I said, so what are we all agreeing? He said, agriculture, kimasipa, man. But it's shit we love. It's shit, but it's shit we love. It's shit we love to eat. So that's what they said. That's why I had to do this video on why I said agriculture kimasipa, man. It's labor, and it's capital, and it's time consuming. That's farming for me. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say, enjoy your weekend. Bye for now.